Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Let's begin today's quiz with the first question coming on your screen. Number 1. Consider the following statements with regards to India's Republic Day parade. Number 1. No Central Asian leader has ever been the chief guest at India's Republic Day parade. Second, 10 leaders from ASEAN nations were invited to India's Republic Day parade as guests in the year 2016. Third, a beating retreat ceremony signifies the beginning of the parade. Which of the following statements is not correct? The answer here is D, since all these three given statements are actually wrong. The first statement is wrong because in the year 2009, the Republic Day parade had Kazakhstan's president as the chief guest. Second also is wrong because the ASEAN nation leaders were invited as the guest in 2018 and not 2016. The third also is wrong because the beating retreat ceremony signifies the official end of the parade and not the beginning. So all these three statements are wrong. The reason why we are asking this question is because the government has invited the leaders of 5 Central Asian leaders to be the chief guests at our Republic Day parade. As per the government, all these 5 except one have officially accepted this invitation. These nations include Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. As you know, the Central Asian countries are extremely energy rich, but because these are landlocked, there is no easy way for them to export their energy sources. This article also tells us that if they all accept, this will be the first time that all 5 countries will attend the Republic Day parade together, although in 2009, Kazakhstan's president Nur Sultan Nazarbayev was the chief guest in India's Republic Day parade. Ever since Narendra Modi has become the Prime Minister, India has been trying to improve its relationship with the Central Asian nations, and the Prime Minister has visited all the 5 capitals of these nations since taking over the Prime Minister's office. Our new membership to the SCO also allows us to have continuous discussions with these nations. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements with regards to the UNCLOS, that is, United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. Number 1. The UNCLOS is the only international convention that stipulates a framework for state jurisdiction in maritime spaces. Second, the territorial sea extends seawards up to 24 nautical miles from its baselines. Third, the exclusive economic zone does not give coastal state the right to prohibit or limit the freedom of navigation or overflight, subject to very limited exceptions. Which of these given statements is or are correct? Out of the 3 statements, the first and the third are correct, and that is why the answer is C. Second statement is wrong because the extent of territorial sea is up to 12 nautical miles and not 24 nautical miles. As you know, India has been asking every state to give due importance to the UNCLOS treaty, which ensures a free and open ocean to every country around the world. The UNCLOS came into being in 1982, and India is one of those nations that have already rectified it. Just to give you an idea, as per the UNCLOS, from the country's baseline, the first 12 nautical miles are known as the territorial sea. This also is a part of India's national airspace, means no airplane can enter this area without the Indian government's permission. After that starts the international airspace and exclusive economic zone. In the exclusive economic zone area, the country does not have the right to stop flights or ships from entering except in some special circumstances. Next, question number 3. Who amongst the following is or are not a part of the Collegium that recommends appointments of judges in the Supreme Court to the President? Prime Minister, Chief Justice of India, the Union Law Minister, or the 4th senior most judge of the Supreme Court? You have to tell which of these is not a part of the Collegium. As you know, the Prime Minister is not a part of the Collegium, and the Law Minister also is not a part of the Collegium. That is why the answer here has to be 1 and 3, that is A. The Collegium comprises of the Chief Justice of India and after him the 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. This Collegium recommends to the President about appointment of the Supreme Court judges, appointment of the High Court judges, and also transfer of the High Court judges. The government over the years has been trying to change the Collegium system, and in the ongoing session of the Parliament, there have been multiple statements from the government saying that there is a need to change the Collegium system and bring in more transparency and accountability in the method of appointment of the judges in the higher judiciary. As you would know, in 2015, the government did try to bring in a change by introducing the NJAC, that is the National Judicial Appointment Commission, which was a 6-member body. 3 members from the side of the judiciary and 3 members included the law minister and 2 people from the civil society. But the Supreme Court struck it down, saying that this is against the concept of separation of powers. The Collegium first came into being in 1993 with the second judge's case. In the beginning, it was supposed to be the Chief Justice of India and 2 senior most judges of Supreme Court. But in the third judge's case of 1998, it was expanded to include the Chief Justice of India and 4 senior most Supreme Court judges. Next, question number 4. Which amongst the following motions are moved against a member of parliament for disregarding their rights and immunities granted to them so that they can effectively discharge their duties? Calling attention motion, privilege motion, adjournment motion, or cut motion? The correct answer here is privilege motion, which is moved against a member of parliament if he or she is misusing the rights and immunities that are given to him or her as a member of the parliament. The reason why we are asking this question is because certain members of parliament in the Rajya Sabha have moved a privilege motion against a fellow Rajya Sabha member Ranjan Gogoi, who is a former Chief Justice of India. The reason why this motion has been moved is, as per the members, Mr. Gogoi has only attended the parliament 6 times since he has become member of parliament in March 2020. Thus, he is undermining the dignity of the house. In one of the interviews recently, Mr. Gogoi had said that I go to Rajya Sabha when I feel like and when I think that an important matter is being discussed. I am not governed by any party whip, and that is why I will only go to parliament when I want to go. Thus, other members of parliament are saying that he is not realizing the responsibility that he has as a member of the Rajya Sabha. Next is a previous year question from 2019. The chairman of public sector banks is selected by the Bank's Board Bureau, the Reserve Bank of India, the Union Ministry of Finance, or the management of the concerned bank. The correct answer here is A. It is a Bank's Board Bureau that suggests about the topmost post in the public sector banks. So the chairman of the public sector banks are selected by the Bank's Board Bureau and then appointed by the Finance Ministry. So if the question would have been who appoints them, the answer would have been the Finance Ministry. But since the question was asking who selects them, the answer has to be the Bank's Board Bureau. On their recommendation, the appointment committee of cabinet takes a final decision. Time now to move to the fact of the day, and today we will be discussing about the bank and the non-banking financial companies coming together. As you know, in November 2020, the Reserve Bank of India allowed the banks to team up with the NBFCs and have an agreement and work on the concept of co-lending. Following that, the SBI made an agreement with the NBFC called the Adani Capital and has started co-lending to their customers. Now, the concept of co-lending means that both these parties will together bear the risk of the loan that they are giving and also will share the rewards that will come in the form of interest on their loans. As per the RBI, the aim of the scheme was that the banks have much more access to money so they can lend at a lower rate of interest, while the NBFCs are seen to have much better reach to the end customers as compared to the banks. So both of these parties coming together will be in the interest of the people, since more people would be able to take loans at a much better price. For example, the SBI's network in India includes over 22,000 branches, while Adani Capital, with which they have teamed up, only has 60 branches across the country. This is just a one-off example. Apart from this, the Union Bank of India has also entered a co-lending agreement with the Capri Global Capital Limited. However, there are certain concerns with the scheme. For example, as per this co-lending scheme, at least 20% share of the loan has to be from the side of the NBFC, meaning that 80% risk will still be with the bank. That means if the loan becomes a default, then it will be the bank that will lose most of its money. On the other hand, the NBFCs will act as a single interface for the customer. The customer will only interact with the NBFC. In other words, while the money will be given by the bank, the NBFC will decide the borrower. The NBFC will decide who can take the loan and who cannot, and the money will go from the bank side. That is why many people are suggesting that this scheme goes against the interest of the banks. This has also raised questions about entering of corporates into the banking sector. For example, let's say SBI and Adani Capital have teamed up. Adani Capital decides who can take the loan. Now, what stops the Adani Capital from telling the SBI that loan should be given to Adani group of companies only? So Adani Capital can misuse their power to get money from SBI for their own group of companies at all the risk of SBI. Thus, although this scheme seems to be interesting and the idea is to include as many people as possible into the banking transactions and make availability of loan much easier, but the reality is that there are still some concerns over whether the scheme is more helpful to the corporate sector than to the banks and the common people. This is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching.